It is a beautiful day today. Sun is shining, skies are blue. It's about 60 degrees. It's absolutely fabulous. Something I want to do today is fill this space on the back end of the Jeep, the passenger side, little cubby. Very interesting thing that Jeep put in here with seemingly no particular purpose, but I found on eBay somebody making different colored bags to fit that space for some storage. I went ahead and picked one of these up, and I'm gonna see if I can at least get it close to installed. It did come with some screws. You can see it's got 5 attachment points, but complaints are that the screws don't really hold, that the attachment system isn't all that great. So I think what I'm going to do is find a bolt, a short bolt that's approximately that size, and I'm going to go ahead and drill those holes out rather than use the screws, because there's just not a lot of material in this plastic to get a good connection. So to do that, I'm gonna have to take this panel off, which I've already got the one off on the other side. This is not gonna be a big deal. Just gotta take those pieces off up there, and this bracket off right here, and then that should pretty much just pop out. So that's what I'm going to get started on right now. All right, got that out without too much trouble. You can probably get it out without taking that rear seat latch off, but I wasn't getting it to really come apart, so I pulled it, which just took a couple seconds. It's a T25 that pulls the original bolts out there. Something you might want to be aware of is right up here at the top, there is this tab right there that does attach into the piece there in front of it. And then there is also this one over here. I don't think that that was attached to anything, but there might possibly be something there for you to be aware of. So, but anyway, that came out just fine. And now it does still have, like, overall, the back side of this looks like it's in pretty good shape. I'm gonna drill through here, and then tomorrow I'll go get some bolts and washers to attach this on nice and secure. All right, my cargo bag is installed. Of course, nothing goes according to plan. I measured the eyelets they have in the back. There's 5 of them, and I measured them with a gauge at 1/4 inch. And that's the hardware I got, and it was too big. So I had to go back to the hardware store this morning and get some number 10, which was kind of the next size down. And on the back here, I've got some nice wide washers to distribute the weight so it doesn't pull through the plastic, and some nylon lock nuts. So I did try to cut this material with a utility knife, but I really don't think in the end that was necessary. I think that these bolts would have just poked through. So, and then I did get the, I called them bolts, they should be screws. I got the Phillips head pan screws. Yeah. And anyway, it's on there. That's going to be nice and sturdy. Anything I'm going to put in there should hold in there just fine, which is probably going to be like ratchet straps and stuff like that, because it's not big enough to hold like a recovery rope. But some ratchet straps, or straps for the eventual roof rack, that kind of stuff I think will fit in here really well. And just like that, in about 10 minutes, that panel is back in place with the new cargo bag. And yeah, that is nice and secure and fits well. Color match is pretty decent. And one quick note on the screws. I picked 1 inch length, which seemed like the right length when I initially put them on, but once I got them tightened down, as you saw in that previous video, there was a fair amount of excess. So 3/4 length would probably work. 1 inch might be a little easier to get started, but 3/4 would be long enough, all said and done. My new radio receiver has a mic attachment because it has Bluetooth connectivity to the phone, and I was going to hang the mic right here since this sensor is already gone, but it turns out the wiring line that I was planning to take isn't going to work out. So then I have one of these clinometers that I was going to put down here, but this one turns out, because it's not digital or anything, it actually works by gravity, by weights inside, so it has to be pretty much level to function. And so it turns out that it will actually fit pretty well right here. And the mic actually is going to fit well right there where I was going to put the clinometer. So I've essentially switched positions for those two things. And then with the clinometer, it does have a light in it, and I do have wiring, as you can see back here, but I found that the power wire is always hot, and I didn't want the light on all the time. So I initially was going to just not hook up the wiring, just put it in there. But then I had the idea that there's got to be a little push button switch that I could get. And sure enough, I found one. It does have a power LED power sign light on it. It's 3/4 inch diameter, and that's going to be perfect to fit right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole, 3/4 inch hole right here to feed it through. Then I'm going to hook up these cables, a positive and the negative, and then the bracket for the clinometer is going to go right here. It did come with a sticky back to it, so I'm just going to, after I clean it, just stick that up right there, hang the clinometer from there. All the wiring will tuck into that, and it will be good to go. So that's my project to work on right now. So I'm going to pull this off, which comes off really easy. There's just the 2 bolts right under here, not even bolts, 2 screws. Pull those off, and that comes right out. And then I need to decide how I'm going to connect the wires to the switch. So I'm going to go take a look at that, and then we'll come back. All right, while my soldering iron is heating up, let me show you what's going on here. So you can see the power symbol in there, and I got the red LED, which goes along with kind of the red theme of other parts on the Jeep. And you can see I've wired these 2 terminals together in the middle. That is following this diagram. So there are basically 4 ways to set up this switch. You can have the power light always on, or always off, or you can have it go on when you depress it, so the light is on when the switch is on, or you can reverse that and have the light on when the switch is off, and it goes off when you turn it on. So I have opted to have it go on when I depress the switch. So when it is active, the light is on, and to do that you have to connect those 2 middle terminals. And on the Amazon page where I ordered it, it suggested soldering them together, and that's where I got this idea to I took some wire off of some spare wire off of leftover bundle. It's probably 18 gauge, I would guess. It's on the thinner side, but should be fine for this application. And as you can see, I just wrapped it around itself, and then I'm planning to get some solder on there and kind of fuse it to that post, and then I'll clip off the excess here. And then I have these left over from doing the speakers, and they happen to fit these posts just about right. So I'll put the wire on these, and then I can just plug them, and that makes it removable should I ever want to. Switch is in, bracket is on, and that's what it's going to look like from the bottom side. However, with the clinometer in front of it on this bracket, you're probably not really going to see the switch unless you're right underneath it. But that's what it looks like. It's not perfectly centered, but it does have the ribs in the middle, so it would have been near impossible to get it perfectly centered. So I think it's good enough. And so now it's down to the wiring. And I need to get some ends on the wiring out of the Jeep. So the red here is my hot, and then the black is the negative. The other two go to door locks, and I'm pretty sure that was the sensor for the remote, which is long gone, never exists since I had it, but it did have that feature. So I think that's what this was for. There was never a light or anything there. I think it was just the sensor for the key fob. On the clinometer, I've got this for the positive that goes onto one of the switches, and then this is part of a T connector that I'm going to add to the negative, because both negatives are supposed to feed through here, and so I have to combine them somehow, and I do still want it to be disconnectable should I want that. So that's why I did that. So this, I will have two more of these ends, one on the red, the power up here, and one on the negative, and then I will also add the other part of the T connector onto the negative up here, so that the clinometer can plug into it. Okay, here it is, installed and in place, and hit the button. Boom. Now this LED is brighter than I expected, but since it's red, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but I will have to come back out when it's totally dark and see. But of course I wanted a switch so that I could turn it off. So we'll see if that red light's gonna bother me too much. If it is, I can always disconnect it, hook it up with a no light option. Obviously, one of my concerns was this, and it does swing underneath with a little bit of oomph. Same with the passenger. Just swing it down a little bit. It's fine. I'm not concerned about it breaking at all. That lines up, and yep, all in place. Boom. Yeah, I'm hoping, since that's a red LED, that it's not going to be that noticeable in the dark. There you have it. It's been a couple of months since I put these two accessories in, and let me give you an update about my experience with them. The cargo bag has been great. Just as I expected, how I expected to use it. I've got some ratchet straps in there. I've got a folding army type shovel, and a quart of oil for an emergency, which is nice because it's keeping that quart upright, and so it's working perfect for that, and it's holding up. It's just what I wanted. Now about the clinometer, which you may be able to see is still installed. Let's go up front and talk about that one. So you do indeed get what you pay for, and I got pretty much the cheapest clinometer out there. It has the two functions that I wanted, showing roll and pitch, and didn't have anything else, which initially was fine with me. It was installed when I took my trip to Ouray, Colorado, and it was kind of fun going along part of the Alpine Loop to look and see what these two measurements were on occasion. But overall, I can say it hasn't really made a drastic impact in my Jeeping experience. So here's some of the problems that I have with this particular unit. Number one, you can see that the roll is showing, as it is right now, that I'm at about a 5-degree roll. Yeah, I'm sitting in my driveway, which is really pretty flat. The Jeep is as close to level as it's really going to get. So, and there's no way to calibrate either one of these. So you're kind of stuck with what you've got, which also, as I said earlier, kind of forced the position to be up here versus someplace else where I might have liked it a little bit more. Another issue I had is as soon as it started warming up and we started getting into summer, the bracket up here, the adhesive on the bracket, became pretty much useless. It did not stick to this plastic whatsoever. So ultimately, I ended up stuffing it, as you can see here, between the bracket and the headliner. Now it does stick to this headliner really well. This is blanket material and kind of a fleece type of thing, and it stuck to that incredibly well. But to this plastic piece, it would come off in a matter of minutes on a hot day. The two other things about it that I really don't care for, when I first put it in, I was very aware of a rattle coming from the clinometer. In fact, the very first time I drove it, I very nearly got home and took it right back out. It was that annoying. Since then, I obviously have left it in. I have eliminated some of the other vibration-inducing issues in the Jeep. So as a whole, the Jeep doesn't vibrate as much. And I also now have a working radio and often have that on. And so between those two things, it's not as noticeable. I'm not sure it's still there, if I've gotten used to it, if those other things have eliminated it or cover it up to the point that I don't notice. But early on, that was very much an issue. And then the last thing is, this may be just that I have slowed down significantly in the progress I'm making on the Jeep. I've only taken a couple trips and they've been very basic, and they're of course in the daylight. So I've not been in a position that I've needed to turn the light on. And with the experiences I've had so far, I'm not sure that I'm really going to have those opportunities. So I'm, in retrospect, really thinking that going through all the trouble of putting in the light switch and hooking up the lights was really kind of useless. In retrospect, I would probably not have done that if I had it to do over again. So obviously, if you got like a digital unit, it would need a source of power, so that might be a different scenario. But yeah, that seemed like at this point a lot of trouble for nothing. So anyway, that's how things have worked out over the summer. I love the cargo bag. Clinometer, maybe would have been worth it to put in a few more bucks and get something a little higher quality, is really what it comes down to with that. Thanks for watching.